Good morning. So you want a war? All right. Is everything is all right? Yeah, good morning. Man, I dodged a bit of a bullet this morning. I cut my Tesla about 10 points higher. I'm feeling pretty dang good about that. I'm feeling pretty fantastic about not getting stubborn there. Good morning, everybody. Maladay, Vic, Dave, Kenny, Jim, Jared, John, Gian, how are you? Carter, you guys are awesome. You guys are here every day, and I appreciate you guys. Dominic, how are you, man? Good morning. Can you guys hear me well? I'm assuming so. So for anybody, thank you, Maladay. For anybody wondering and have yet to see it, you could probably watch it a little later, but I posted a video about scanning for relative strength. I'm gonna have to change the title. Coffee with Ariel. That's what these things are gonna start to be called. Coffee with Ariel. But I made a video this morning. For like the last I don't know, a few weeks. I've had I've owned KGC now since low mid 13s, and somebody asked me this morning. I bought it. Well, I don't know, 1360 down here, wherever the hell it was, over here. Somebody asked me about finding stocks in leading groups, leading sectors. So I made a video that I think you guys might find pretty helpful. Yeah, silver looks great. Silver is up another 4%, and it broke out with vigor into new 52-week highs. I said that if it breaks the $35 area, I think it's going to 40 pretty dang easy, potentially higher, 42, something like that. So, we'll see. We'll see what it wants to do, but I own KGC, so I'm not too stressed about it one way or the other. I don't necessarily want to chase anything, but there are a bunch of stocks that look really good. Wheat and precious metals looked good a few days ago, coming out of this, little consolidation at all-time highs. EGO looked pretty good coming out of this little downtrend line into all-time highs, or really 52-week highs. Goldfields looked really good. AU looked really good. So these things just look great. Oh yeah, Snacks, you're welcome, man. Happy to help. My thoughts on ATGE. This was on the watch list, but just kind of had this little nasty down day. I think it might just be waiting for the 50 to catch up, but it needs to take out, 134 and a half. Over 134 and a half looks really good. Bitcoin hopefully trying to find some support at the rising 20. Man, I could go for an early morning coffee. I was up way too early this morning. Crude oil not really wanting to break down anymore. I thought it wanted to. It broke this really big $65 level. And, this thing is kind of starting to base here. If it can get back through the 200, I'm going to make sure I've got eyes on some energy stocks as well. The market's got this big $66,000 level to deal with. It's just digesting for now. I don't think it's doing anything wrong. But, if it can go ahead and take this out at some point, ideally another shakeout. The problem is, actually buying down here when the market had given us a follow through day. So like this day right here, whatever day this was, 421 was such a bad breath day in the market. And then all of a sudden, you get right through that the next day, and then you're just up from there, follow through effectively on this day as a higher low. There were so many setups. Like, I think I bought Netflix on that day, and then the next day it was like CrowdStrike, and then from there it was, Uber and Palantir or something like that. I think it was Netflix, Palantir, and then Uber and Crowd. That's how I did it. So, it's like buying in here for the market, if you're on your individual names, is much easier than buying up here. Stocks got quite extended fairly quickly, like when you think about the leadership. So, you want things to digest a little bit further before you kind of start piling into a bunch of new positions. But, as long as you've got good stocks and leading groups coming out of clean setups, then there's really nothing to complain about. I mean, I'm seemingly able to put together a watch list every single night, with multiple stocks on there. So, yeah, WMB is one that I've noticed just still chopping sideways. Very annoying, actually. Very annoying. But, it's hanging in there. Yeah, it's not really doing anything. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I feel pretty good about it. And then, what I did, and I talked about it yesterday when I posted the trade, and all of these trades, I'll make another thread like I did for last month of all of the trades that I took this month. And, I've just, update them, and then I'll make like a really nice thread. It just took me a little bit to do, but it just took me a little while to do, but I'll make another one, just kind of going over the why I took it, where I took it, why I exited, where I trimmed, etc. And then I'll do that with all my, winning and losing trades. I try to be super transparent. So Tesla, my thoughts on Tesla. Well, I exited yesterday when it broke the little lower half of this range, right? Really the wick up that I was seeing was right here. Right, it came right into the lower part of my range and held 333. And then at my, kind of back of mind, I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a tiny bit more wiggle room. Let's call it 330. Yesterday, right, pretty much from the word go, and even like the next day, this actually looked like a nice green day where it was like, okay, it's back out over prior day high, 350. And then, Elon came out and spoke out against the big, beautiful bill, literally right up here. And immediately this thing started rolling over, right? You get a crack, you go sideways, you get a crack, you get a bounce, you stay heavy, you finish at lows of the day. That's not good, right? And it just gives back the entire move higher. Then all of a sudden, right from the word go, you get this little pop in the morning, consolidation, a break below VWAP, stays completely heavy, and then just all day. I come in here 3:30. I'm like, I'm fucking done with it. I sell the last of my shares. I'm not messing around. And then this thing just goes and proceeds to consolidate all day long. Now, at one point, I was like, okay, is the market going to break above 6,000? All right. So as this thing starts to break back above its 20 simple moving average, I put the shares back on that I sold, right? So half of my position was 4,000 shares. So I put my 4,000 shares back on and, literally 335. And I'm expecting the market to start to push and this thing to finish, 338, 339, 340. Enough for me to be able to comfortably hold it overnight. Because if you have no cushion going into the overnight, right? I said it in the Discord, you're just kind of exposing yourself to Elon tweeting again, the market going down, and you've got no cushion to just give back unrealized gains, right? Like if I was up, 20 grand on it, then all of a sudden, I could just give that back overnight and I wouldn't be too concerned about it. But otherwise, you get this kind of a mean close right off. I was like, okay, bounces, still fine, not broken low of day, and then just kind of hangs out underneath the 20 and starts to close weak. Right before the close, I was like, all right, I'm done with it. I'm not going to deal with it at all. So I'll just deal with it tomorrow if it can get back above the 20. And then obviously overnight, you guys saw what happened, right? I don't have to tell you the rest. It's effectively at the lows. And, if I were still holding my 335, right, you'd be down, 60 grand on it for no reason. And I'd have given back a really nice chunk of my nice trade. So not something that I wanted to do, and forget about the dollar amount. You have to, it doesn't matter if it's, like I said, doesn't matter if it's 4,000 shares, 400 shares, 40 shares, whatever the sizing is for your portfolio, make sure that you're not doing anything stupid. And holding a stock with zero momentum would have been the wrong move. So glad I let it go. I will look lower for this thing. If this thing wants to, and now obviously we're opening up around 320. If we want to get ourselves back to this 200-day around 304, I would be comfortable to look for it in that area. Otherwise, for now, in the back of my mind, either we go lower and it gives me like a 200 simple moving average undercut and rally setup, or we go higher and we reclaim the 20 simple moving average. Really here, 320, it's just kind of in no man's land, Sig. So, it just is what it is. I could have done a little bit better of a job, getting positioned in it, but or getting some trims off, but that's about it. I bought it right. I got really, really nice trims off at 358. So I effectively nailed the most recent highs, missed by a couple bucks, $8. But, now I've avoided myself this headache of watching it come back $40 on my whole position, which I know some people stubbornly do, which is totally insane. That's not the games I play, right? It's like, I need to make sure I treat it like a business, and you have to get paid for your efforts. Yeah, that's going to happen. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that, man. I can't quite remember every single person who's in there, but if I'm not mistaken, aren't you in there, Dave? I believe you are, as Dave P. I can't quite remember everybody, but I appreciate that. Hell yeah. Thank you for being there, brother. I appreciate you. And hopefully you're learning something. That's the most important part. Steve O, good morning. And thank you too, man, for all the things you're doing in the room as well, man. I would say they're Both about equal. I mean, here's the thing. So MSTR was in a much better uptrend, right? It's had its 200-day moving up for a long while. Coin, just got above its 200. I kind of like coin a little bit more, but I don't know, man. Here's the reality. They're both Bitcoin dependent. So if Bitcoin's going to go higher, coin and MSTR should act well. Not going to say that they are going to act well, but they should. With that said, I bought coin 2 days ago on Tuesday, 251 as it was going through here. And then I trimmed some off yesterday, 256, when we kind of broke this little low right here, right? This area where it held the pullback, and then it was just kind of trying to break down. What just happened? So 6,000 on the ES, big move there. I don't know exactly what that was. Xi Trump hold call, Chinese state media. Well, there it is. I don't know if that was just it right there, but looks like the Chinese said so. Yeah, coin looks really, really good. So if Bitcoin starts to go higher, and coin can take out yesterday's highs, I would be apt to add my shares back. I still have 2/3 of my position, but if this thing can get going over 261, I would happily add some shares back. Let's just hope that this doesn't turn into some sell the news for the NQ or. I kept thinking that 6,000 would be a pretty difficult level of resistance for the S&P 500. And, it's like right there, tried to make a new high. And then, do we just dump and give this whole move back? Not sure. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, I saw the consolidation on ETHA. So Ethereum, yeah, looks good. Just needs to break out of this consolidation. There are so many charts that look kind of like this, right? You get to move up, you get to move sideways. I mean, even ARC looks like this, right? You get to move up, you get to move sideways. Looks good. Here's one actually that I need to make sure I have my alerts set on. We'll see if they can get going. Yeah, love ASML. I think they're a great business. But again, this isn't really a trading stock for ASML. This is not a trading stock. This is one you would just, own and kind of forget that you owned and look back at it in a year and you'll probably, or 2 or 3, and you'll probably be happy. What do I think about Hood? I think it's a bit extended. You can't come in here for a new buy, right? I mean, we were looking at this thing down at 50 and 51, 51.30. It was on the watch list. So you can't come in for this thing at 72. I mean, you could, but you're probably going to get your ass kicked. I mean, not saying that it can't go higher. It probably does go higher in time, but it needs some digestion. All right, it's up 40% from its 50-day. It's up there, all right. I like Bros. Bros is actually on the watch list last night. Looks good if it can power through 73, but we'll see. One day at a time. I don't think that it matters. Friday's listing into the S&P 500. It doesn't really matter. They'll include Hood and Hood will do whatever Hood was going to do. Here's the thing. It's like you guys got to remember, like BLDR was included in the S&P 500 right in here. Okay. And it went higher, right? It went higher. And then eventually it rolled over, right? So don't ever just love a stock, own a stock, keep a stock just because it's going to be or is or, you know, anything to do with inclusions into the S&P 500. What's my thoughts on Tesla? I just went over my thoughts on Tesla. I sold my last shares yesterday. I won't do anything with Tesla until it reclaims its 20 simple moving average, or maybe gives me like a 200 simple moving average undercut and rally. That's it. Yeah, Oddity looks great. Oddity looks awesome. It's good to study these high volume close setups. You know, this thing had a nice trend from there, gap down, and then just really nice continuation, and likely goes higher. Right? Acts really, really nice. What do I think of Serve? I don't know that there is a whole lot to think about Serve, to be honest with you. It needs to establish itself a little bit better above the 200 simple. That's what I think. Right? It needs to digest, go up a little bit more, digest, establish itself above the 200. How do you buy UNRs? Yeah, so what price will do is it will undercut a key level, and then as it begins to reclaim that key level, you know, I like to zoom in a little bit more. So like on a 5-minute chart, and I'll look for what's called a 620 setup that I learned from Gil Morales. And that's it. I'll then wait for this 620, but it's got to be at a key level, right? Don't just learn 620s and then think it's like some holy grail entry. So you're undercutting a key level, and then you're rallying back through, and then you're setting your stop at that low. Or inversely, it's like a stock is pushing through a key level, it starts to fail, you're shorting, your stop's at that high. Undercut and rally. That's right. No, I use the close of the high volume day as the key level. That's why I call it, or I didn't coin that phrase. Amit Rai did. I'm going to give credit to the person I learned that from. Amit, high volume close. The close is important. So stocks pumped on that Trump Xi conversation news, and the only stock that didn't pump itself was Tesla. Boy, it's looking interesting. We the generation. Everything is all right. That's all you want to want. Mm-hmm. That's funny. The amount of bots on X now is just so silly. So many bots. Yeah, Corey, maybe. Yeah, it's totally possible that that 300 is possible. I mean, it's down 40 points in 3 days, or 4 days, or 3 days, something like that. I don't see why another 20 points is not possible. INOD. Yeah. INOD, it's just, it looks all right. It looks all right. Let me look at something really quick. Let me see if this thing's got earnings and sales. Inno data. Yeah, wow. They've had some really nice acceleration in their earnings and sales all throughout 2024. Their EPS big time. Any thoughts on slower mover now? I like them as a company, but yeah, you said the key word, slower mover, right? Is this really a place you want to park your money in a stock that moves less than 2% per day? I mean, you know what I mean? Is it? It's like, probably not. Probably not. That's the problem. It's just so slow. If you want to look like a genius, just recommend it to your grandmother. She'll buy you a nice Christmas gift next year. How would I handle TSSI? Well, where do you already own TSSI? Because it's not buyable here. Dave, tell me if you own it. Yeah, you own it and clench the cheeks every day you wake up. But you own it from where? I'm assuming $13 or something. Is this where you bought this? 530, 1330, 1360, something like that. Okay, so trim into strength, right? That's the first thing you want to do, is just make sure that you've trimmed some off into strength, and then you just trail the rest, right? If you bought this thing at 13, this is such a fast mover that I wouldn't give this thing. I would trim more if it lost the 5 simple moving average, and then I would cut the rest if it lost the 10, right? Because this thing moves 12.5% per day.